So you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh, but you're getting bored with your deck. What do? Well, build a new deck, of course. But what kind of deck? Blue Eyes, Satellar Knights, Zodiacs. There are so many archetypes to choose from in Yu-Gi-Oh, and each archetype has its own unique supports and playstyles with their own strengths and weaknesses. That's what I'm here for, to share different archetypes and show you the different cards that make them up. For the first archetype analysis, we're going to be looking at a newer archetype, and one I've personally had a lot of fun with, Fluffals. Fluffals are fuzzy stuffed animals that aren't very intimidating on their own. And I mean, look at these. Who could be afraid of Fluffal Dog, or Fluffal Owl, or Fluffal Leo, for God's sake? He looks like Cone from Bleach. But when you start fusing these cute little toys with edge-imp monsters, you get horrors straight out of FNAF, FRIGHTFURs, animatronic monstrosities that can absolutely swing the game in your favor and probably give your opponents nightmares as a bonus. But in this video, we're only going to be looking at the Fluffals and the spells and traps you can use to support them. So to start things off, we have Fluffal Rabbit. Fluffal Rabbit is a level 1 fairy with 300 attack, and its effect really shows us what Fluffals are all about. When Fluffal Rabbit is sent to the graveyard as fusion material, you can return a Fluffal other than itself or edge-imp sabers to your hand. Playing Fluffals, you'll be fusing a lot, and this isn't the only card that lets you keep recycling your fusion materials, cards, and even your fusion monsters can be recycled. But we'll get to those soon enough. Our next card is Fluffal Wings, one that up until very recently was one of my favorite cards in the archetype. Fluffal Wings is a level 1, 100 base attack and defense, and isn't anything you want to see on the battlefield. If Fluffal Wings is in your graveyard and you control toy vendors, you can banish Fluffal Wings and another Fluffal monster from your graveyard to draw a card. Then if you want another card, you can send Toy Vendor to the graveyard, and guess what? You draw a card. These two cards are almost all you need to set up several fusions. Fusion Enforcers had almost everything we need for a Fluffal deck, including a few cards we hadn't seen before in the TCG. One of these new cards is Fluffal Octo. Fluffal Octo is everything this archetype was missing. When Fluffal Octo is summoned, you can return a Fluffal or an edge-imp monster from your graveyard to your hand, so it's a recycler like Fluffal Rabbit, except it isn't limited, and what's that? Oh, there's a second ability. Yep, when you use Fluffal Octo as fusion material, you can choose 2 banished monsters and put them back in your graveyard. Insane value for this level 1. Okay, so it's not that great. It doesn't put the cards back in your hand or even your deck, but since there are a few good cards for that, and you can fuse from the graveyard in a few cases, it does work really well. Fluffal Cat is another great recycler for the archetype. If Fluffal Cat gets sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon, you can target a polymerization in your graveyard and add that to your hand. Not the best recycler, but it definitely works out for the archetype. Fluffal Mouse is the last of the level 1 Fluffals. While it isn't that good, it can be a clutch draw if you're in a bind and need more Fluffals to fuse. During your main phase, you can special summon up to 2 other Fluffal Mouses from your deck. Getting one of these when you have no other Fluffals can absolutely save your life and win the game. Only a couple of level 2 Fluffals to look at. First is Fluffal Sheep. If you control a Fluffal monster, you can special summon this 400 attack, 800 defense fluffy ball of fuzz. And to top it off, you can return a different Fluffal monster from the field to your hand to special summon an edge-imp. Fluffal Owl is one that you'll probably want 3 of. Its stats are nothing special at a mere 1000 attack, 1000 defense, but when Fluffal Owl is summoned, you can search out a polymerization from your deck and add it to your hand. You're all out of polymerization, you say? Well, that's okay, because once per turn you can pay 500 life points to fuse monsters and do a FRIGHTFUR. Not only does this search out a polymerization, it is polymerization for this archetype. Fluffal Bear is the only level 3 in the Fluffy arsenal. The main way I use him is with his first effect, where you can discard it to get a toy vendor out of the deck. But in a few rare occurrences, I have used its second effect to tribute Fluffal Bear and get a polymerization out of the graveyard. Moving on to the level 4s, the last group of Fluffals in the archetype. And to start things off, we have Fluffal Dog. This one card almost guarantees a fusion. When you summon Fluffal Dog, you can search out another Fluffal monster or an edge-imp sabers. All you need now is a fusion card to really swing the game. The most out of place card of all the Fluffals has got to be Fluffal Leo. No real effect that helps you get more Fluffals, edge-imps, or FRIGHTFUR monsters. The only effect it has is gaining 500 attack for the battle phase when it declares an attack. Not really a useful card if you're playing a fusion strategy, and you most likely are. Fluffal Leo can be used as fusion material, but with better options, there isn't a lot of reason to run it. A great new inclusion from Fusion Enforcers is Fluffal Penguin. During your main phase, you can special summon a Fluffal from your hand, but you can only do this once while Fluffal Penguin is on the field. So choose wisely. Of course, it doesn't stop there. If you use it as a fusion material, you can draw 2, then discard 1. Fusion Enforcers was really good to people wanting to play Fluffals. That's all for the Fluffal monsters, and there really aren't many spell or traps to support them. And the first is Designer FRIGHTFUR. Designer FRIGHTFUR lets you special summon a Fluffal or edge-imp from the graveyard that can be used as a FRIGHTFUR for a FRIGHTFUR fusion like with FRIGHTFUR Sabertooth or FRIGHTFUR Chimera. Next up is Toy Vendor, and I really like this card. With a strong deck built around it, it can almost guarantee 3 or 4 extra monsters for a fusion, and that is absolutely great, especially when you need to get off the extra effects like with FRIGHTFUR Tiger and FRIGHTFUR Wolf. And the last piece of support for the Fluffal archetype is Fluffal Crane. Fluffal Crane is a lifesaver. When a Fluffal monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one Fluffal destroyed this way and return it to your hand, and you draw a card for your troubles. Let me know what you guys think of Fluffals. Personally, I love playing them and think they're a super fun archetype, and it's always nice to see your opponent laugh at the start of a duel and then walk away astonished when they lose. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this archetype analysis on Fluffals. If you did, or you just want me to stop saying Fluffal, leave a like and subscribe to see the next archetype analysis where we look at the other stuff that makes Fluffals tick. Don't forget to follow on Twitter at TCGguide, and if you want to help support the channel, you can check out my Patreon, or you can share this video, which is even more helpful, and free too. But enough rambling. For everything Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh!, check the TCG guide. Have a great day, guys.